Welcome and thank you for joining us today for this Coursera webinar about how to elevate your career with project management. We're excited to have our expert industry panel, Margaret Maloney and Peter Kim, in partnership with the new Applied Project Management Professional Certificate Program from the University of California, Irvine Division of Continuing Education. My name is Carly Anderson, and I'm a Certificate Program Manager here at Coursera. I'll be helping to moderate this session. I warmly invite you to share your comments and questions throughout via the Q&A box at the bottom of your screen. If you have any questions, you also can use chat if you have any technical difficulties at this point. By entering questions in the Q&A box, we'll hold a quick Q&A at the end of the webinar to help answer some of your open questions, and we'll look forward to addressing those. Thanks to everyone who submitted questions in advance. We have those all ready to go, and we're thrilled to chat more with you. We invite you also to take part in we'll have a couple of webinar polls. Before I hand over the webinar to the panel, I'd like to briefly present the University of California, Irvine, as well as the new Professional Certificate in Applied Project Management. This certificate will be taught also by our panel members. The University of California, Irvine's Division of Continuing Education has been educating learners for over 50 years. It is ranked among the top 50 universities nationally in the U.S. News and World Report Annual College Survey, and is ranked number 8 in Forbes' America's Best Colleges list. Each year, UCI has 30,000 enrollments from students worldwide. Specific to the Applied Project Management Certificate, UCI is a global charter member of PMI's registered education provider. And maybe most importantly, they're dedicated to the highest quality instruction, employing professional levels of instructional design, innovative technology, and the most qualified and best trained instructors, and you'll hear from them today. Coursera is excited to partner with UCI to offer their Applied Project Management Certificate. The aim of this program is to help you identify, develop, and innovate in the field of project management, either within your own company or to jumpstart your career in a different field. The certificate is comprised of 4 6-week courses. The certificate is completely online and includes weekly live webinars, expert grading, and comprehensive projects. Students should expect to spend 5 to 10 hours per week to be successful. What's really great about the certificate is when you complete it, you can expect to be qualified to direct the flow of activities during initiation, planning, execution, and closing of a project. Be prepared to apply proven project management tools and techniques at all stages of a project. Be ready to apply to one of the 500,000 annual job openings that list project management as a required skill. Receive units of real university credit from UCI that can be applied to future degrees. And finally, to jumpstart your path to becoming a PMP certified if you so choose. There are no prerequisites or exams required to enroll in the certificate. You can enroll now to join our October 16th session. Now, we're excited to turn it over to the panel to introduce themselves. They each have significant industry experience and also teach the courses in the certificate. I'd first like to introduce Margaret Maloney. Margaret, take it away.
Hi, everybody. Thanks so much for letting me spend time with you today. I get to be with you because I have been in and around project management for over 20 years now, and it's my honor to help you become excellent project managers. And that's really my focus at this point, is to take people and introduce them to project management and really help them become the best project managers that they can be. And I'm able to do that because I led many IT projects and programs, and I've been a director of a program management office, and I have coached and mentored many, many project managers. And now it's my time to be here with you and to help you discover project management and how it can help you in your career and in your lives. Thanks.
Thanks, Margaret. Now we're going to turn it over to Peter Kim, who's joining us as well as a project manager or as a panelist today.
Hi, my name is Peter Kim. I'm currently a program manager for Southern California Edison. In the past, I've been involved with many different projects and programs. I've actually been involved with project management starting as a business analyst on the finance side and have experiences in retail, education, utilities, as well as all the finance industries. I really started teaching as a hobby. I love it. I connect with many project management professionals, and I look forward to talking with you guys through this webinar.
Great. Thanks, Peter. Now that we have heard from our panel, we wanted to hear a little bit more about you. So we're going to do a quick poll for all of our attendees. On the screen, you'll see a poll that asks what your current job role is. So we're going to open up that poll now. I see a lot of you responding. We're going to keep it open for a few more minutes. More like seconds, sorry, not minutes. Great. Thanks for your response. We're going to show you what the distribution looks like. So the largest population of our attendees are you manage projects, but it's not your primary function. So I think that our panelists will definitely be able to speak to that. Now on to our panel. Our first question that was pre-submitted is for Margaret. The question is, how to apply project management to your day? What does a project manager do, officially and unofficially?
Great question. I'm going to start with what does a project manager do, officially and unofficially. And I'm going to start with unofficially. Unofficially, everything you can to make your project successful, with some obvious caveats of nothing unethical or illegal or immoral. But your job is to take that project from start to finish and work as hard as you can with your team to make it successful. Now, what does that mean officially? It means you are the one steering the ship. You are the one working with the team to set the plan. You are the one working with the team to see if the plan is working. You are working with the team to make changes to the plan when it's necessary, to communicate to your stakeholders, those who are actively impacted by what your project is producing. And so what you'll find as you go through these courses is there's so much, and this is really a good thing because you have a very interesting day when you are a project manager, which also takes us to how do I apply project management to my day. Planning. I would say it's a really good idea for you to start and end your day planning. And this is true whether you're really going to be a project manager or not. Know every day what are the top 3 most important things that you need to take care of. Know what are the extras, the nice to have. Prepare that each morning. At the end of the day, reflect back and see if something didn't happen that was supposed to happen. Capture that information. Why didn't it happen? What will you do differently because of that? go through your day using what I like to call critical path thinking. Critical path is a term you're going to become more comfortable with as you take these courses, which is what are the things that need to happen a certain way at a certain time in order to keep us on track, because those are the items that should be your priority. So planning and communicating and really, taking an organized approach through your day. I'll stop there for now. I could probably go on forever, so thank you for listening.
Great, thank you. The next question is for Peter. Peter, what's the importance of investing in project management?
Thank you, Carly, for the question. It is tremendously important to invest in project management in all industries. I've witnessed the need for project managers and project management professionals throughout all aspects of all the different companies I've worked for. Industries such as utilities and consulting, including boutiques and formerly Big Six, now Big Four. Many are working on IT projects, which involve Agile as well as traditional project management. Throughout the years, I recognized that some of the job descriptions that was posted, including job descriptions that I post currently, require project management certificates for project professionals. And basically, for project managers, it required or it was preferred that the PMP was taken and they've attained that certification. Today, a lot of those preferences have transitioned into requirements. So as a project analyst, as an engineer working on a project, if you have a project management certificate, you speak the language of project managers and project management professionals. For project managers, a lot of the job postings are required in addition to expertise in such as construction, for instance, or finance. So the project management certificate and project management professional credential has become tremendously important and recognized in many industries. A lot of the consulting companies send their entry-level consultants or consultants that start out to project management certificate courses as well as getting their PMP certification because they have their own knowledge base and knowledge that they manage. Project management is part of that knowledge base, and it's all about the return on investment, right? What investments are we putting forth in our employees as well as ourselves to gain that project knowledge, and how do we convert that knowledge into practice and return on investment for the customer or the client that we're working for?
Great, thank you, Peter. The next question is for Margaret, and I think we're actually getting some of these questions in live as well. Sorry, I'm waiting for there we go. What it takes to be a good project manager. And the second piece, and how to rely on people when I'm new to this.
To answer this, I think I'd like to tell, and I'll try to be quick, a story of how when I was new, how I wasn't good. Because when I look back when I was a brand new project manager, I sometimes feel like I should call up people and apologize to them for my mistakes. And so here's what I did why I wasn't good at the beginning. I kept clinging to my old job. I was in IT, so I kept trying to be technical, and it was an IT project, and I'd try to go into everybody's code and their programs and look at their programs instead of working with them to help them complete a goal by a certain time. I micromanaged because I was afraid and I didn't know how things were going to happen. And I didn't spend the right time learning my new job and applying project management. So I kind of was clinging to my old job. And how I stepped away from that really corresponds with the second part of this question, which is how to rely on people when I'm new to this, is that some people who were on my team and were seasoned professionals and knew that I was brand new at being a project manager pulled me aside and talked to me and said, you need to let go of your old work. You need to trust us that we know what we're doing. And you need to let us know what is supposed to happen and when. You need to run interference for us. Stop making us be in so many meetings. You need to be the communication. You need to be the liaison. You need to understand that when we tell you something's going to happen, it's going to happen. And again, trust us. And that helped me become, at the beginning, a better and ultimately a good project manager. And it does take time to understand who you can trust, because certainly when you are new, there are people who are not going to be trustworthy, who are going to take advantage of you being new. How you know is, do they do what they said they were going to do? So if at the beginning I was doing what I was supposed to do, which would be understanding the work, dividing up the work, and putting the work in small enough packages so that people had to account for something at least every week or every 2 weeks, when you do that, then you know who's trustworthy, because if somebody consistently tells you something but is missing their deadline, you get a sense for it. And so that's just some of it, because how to be a good project manager, it's a great question, and there's so many different pieces to it. But if you're talking about when you're brand new, I really want to say jump in and embrace your role as a project manager and get to know the people around you and measure them by how they're performing the work and what they're saying to you versus what's happening, and you'll be on your way. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Margaret. That's really great advice. Now on to Peter. I hear the word agile a lot. How is agile integrated into project management?
Thank you, Carly. When I think about agile, I mean, I've also heard agile quite a bit in working with IT professionals. A lot of our projects are multidiscipline, multifunctional. So there's a lot of IT professionals at the forefront of practicing agile. Agile, I mean, I think of the word agility, right? A lot of agility is required in planning and replanning. When you think about the software development, or we're currently doing a re-platform our existing systems, there's new stakeholders that enter into play at different stages of the project. And many times we have to replan our project, and agility is required. So I've heard of practices such as stand-up meetings, or a lot about sprints to drive objectives and deliverables in real time. Our IT folks have informed me about software development in other companies where replanning and basically allowing change to drive your project is critical. If you think about the video game industry, where the first mover advantage is huge. Basically, first one to publish or put your product out there sets the tone in terms of what the games and what the customers expect. You're driving to develop a competitor or the next version, you need to replan if some of your existing products or services are outdated already. However, this doesn't mean that any project management project manager is taking shortcuts. If you look at the project management body of knowledge and just do a search term on agile, you'll see that it's integrated and is strewn out throughout the project management body of knowledge. Through it and throughout the agile or practicing agile, it's still integrated into project management discipline, and there shouldn't be any shortcuts. Agile needs to work in concert with basic project management, and if it's taking any shortcuts, you'll know that basically this is not the best discipline of agile project management.
Great, thanks, Peter. The next question is for Margaret, and we've actually received the same question in advance and on the live Q&A. Who is the Applied Project Management Certificate for? Do I need a certain background? If I'm not a project manager, why should I take the certificate? And we had some specific that were just typed in that was asking, is project management only for engineers?
Now, remember everybody, that I have huge bias because I've been working in and around project management for 20 years. So of course, I want to say project management is for everyone, but let me be fair and specific. But first of all, is it only for engineers? No, absolutely not. And those of us who are teaching project management, for me at least, and I bet this is true for Peter too, some of the fun is we meet people from so many different industries. I meet independent film producers. I meet people in healthcare. I meet event planners. I meet engineers. I meet people who make medical devices. I meet people in IT. I meet people in finance. So I'll stop because you get it. So the way we're teaching project management is not industry specific. It is absolutely about using standardized approaches to take your special endeavors from start to finish and help you be as successful as possible. And so You don't need a certain background. You just need to be interested in running projects. You need to be, like many of you on this call or on this our webinar Zoom, many of you are managing projects as part of your job. Imagine how much more secure you would feel if you had a standardized way to do this. If you knew, like, here's what I'm supposed to do and when. Imagine how much better you would feel, because you probably lose some time to a little bit of uncertainty when you're balancing project management with the rest of what you're doing. So if you're not a project manager, you might still consider the certificate if you're going to be working on projects. Another thing, another type of person I've met, people who come and learn because while they may not be project managers, they maybe are going to have project managers reporting to them. So if you are a person who runs a department or part of an organization and you are going to have project managers reporting to you, it's good to understand what it means to manage projects so that you know what to expect from your project managers and you know best how to participate with them. I'm going to take a breath and pause and make sure that I'm answering what's being asked, because this is a very important question.
Thank you, Margaret. That's great. That definitely answered the questions that we received live. So the next question is for Peter. How can we implement project management in an IT infrastructure? So a little more specific.
Yeah, this is a very difficult and challenging question, and I'm going to answer it from the perspective that how can project management can be used to implement IT infrastructure. I've worked with IT professionals to build finance IT systems, such as customizing Oracle or SAP, or even PeopleSoft and accounting software for companies such as Guitar Center, University of Southern California, and my current company for Southern California Edison. Many of these infrastructure systems deals with compatibility with existing systems. For instance, Alcoa, which is an aerospace company, they utilize a Sightline or manufacturing enterprise resource planning tool for Alcoa. Basically, in Guitar Center, they utilize the Oracle that's been interfaced with PeopleSoft to extract data for financial systems. For University of Southern California, they used a Unix-based system about 15 years ago. They're traditionally known as green screens. And hopefully all companies have exited the green screens and now into the portal world or online world. In each of these instances, the IT infrastructure that supported the companies are becoming obsolete faster and faster. And just like programming languages move from COBOL to basically Python, there's been significant changes in integrating these systems. So project management concepts, they instill a discipline during all phases of the project lifecycle. So basically the project management implementation in IT infrastructure projects requires you to basically stick to the discipline, understand the different life cycles of the project management stage. And when you're implementing IT infrastructure or systems or individual softwares, sticking to the basic project management knowledge about what are the tools and techniques really helps you to guide your strategy and your actual actions while you're implementing these IT infrastructures. Another way I can really understand this question is about companies and the IT infrastructures that they adapt. There's been many instances where systems such as ERP or PeopleSoft has been implemented in large companies, and it represents their core IT infrastructure. However, as industries and companies go through change, there are a lot of the individual divisions are relying on off-the-shelf custom softwares. So how can you implement project management? Project management is also about integrations management. And that's where the challenge lies. For a lot of big companies, you need to integrate different systems together. And integrating different systems, practicing project management from inception, from initiation all the way through close, provides the best implementations and make sure that your blind spots are closed by your project stakeholders. So hopefully I've answered this question from the context, and yeah, I look forward to other questions.
Thanks, Peter. I'm glad you took that more difficult question. Margaret, this one's for you. We've received this in the live chat as well. I referred to it in the opening segment about, I use the phrase PMP. So what is a project management professional certification through the Project Management Institute, and how does it work?
So the Project Management Institute is a global professional organization they are champions of project management around the world. And they have a certification called the Project Management Professional. And the purpose of that certificate is to show that you are educated and have some experience at running projects using the standardized best practices as recommended by the Project Management Institute. They have a book called The Guide to the Project Management Body of Knowledge, which people affectionately refer to as the PMBOK Guide. And that certification represents your combination of experience, because you need to have experience, you need to have some education, and you take an exam, and that exam is all about, do you understand how the Project Management Institute would like you to manage projects? And so when you see that PMP after people's names, you know that they have dedicated, a good amount of time to education and experience and learning what it is the PMI really wants us to think about when we run projects. In terms of how it works, you need to have a certain amount of experience, which varies based on your level of education. So if you have a bachelor's degree or equivalent, you need 4,500 hours, which means they want you to have about 2.5 years of experience. It doesn't mean you always had to be exactly the project manager during those 2.5 years, but that you did help run projects. If you don't have a bachelor's degree, let's say you have a high school diploma or equivalent, then they do ask you for more experience, which is about 7,500 hours. They ask you to have 35 hours of education in an area that's related to project management, which you would have more than enough should you enter this program. And you fill out an application. Once your application is accepted and then approved, you may schedule your exam. You go to a standardized testing center, you sit down and you take the exam. And once you pass that exam, then you may call yourself a project management professional, or PMP.
Great. There was a follow-up question that I saw, Margaret, that asked if the certificate that UCI is offering on Coursera, if that includes the PMP exam.
It does not. That is a separate effort. So through this program, you get a certificate of completion saying you've completed the program with Coursera and UC Irvine. And to pursue the PMP, you'll need to go and take that step on your own and go to pmi.org, to the website, and get the application and apply through them for the PMP exam or any other exam that you choose to take with them.
Great. And one other clarifying point is that there's, as you mentioned, there's a requirement for education hours, which the certificate does allow you to have those education hours through the certificate. And given that the base for the certificate is the guide that it's going to be tested on, it prepares you for the exam. And Margaret, maybe you could elaborate a little bit more on that.
Okay, so give me a little more what direction you'd like me to go on that one, so I can do a good job here.
Just, sorry, I threw that one on you. That the question was, again, in correlation with the exam, is that it's not part of it, but that I guess a little bit more understanding of to receive the PMP certification, the project management certification, the basis is on the PMBOK, which is what is the tool that's used throughout this certificate course.
Oh, I get it. Thank you very much. I just want to make sure I answer specifically. So when we teach, we are drawing from the Guide to the Project Management Body of Knowledge. Sometimes we will specifically say it, and we will specifically quote a section from the Guide to the Project Management Body of Knowledge. Sometimes we do not. But what we are teaching you draws from those best practices. When it is time for you to take the exam, you need to be really up close and personal with that Guide to the Project Management Body of Knowledge. And if you've finished our courses, it shouldn't seem foreign to you, but taking that exam is really about knowing that book and answering things per the book. And our courses are going to give you the familiarity so that it's not going to seem really strange to you. But most people not everybody, most people after going through and learning about project management and applying it need to do a special kind of studying to prepare for the exam, because taking an exam is different than going through and working on a class project. Taking the exam is understanding how you will be asked questions and how to answer situational questions and that type of thing.
Great, thanks for the clarification. And that's something that I've liked about this certificate program as I've learned more about it, that it was changed to be called Applied Project Management. So really giving students the applied skills when they take that. Thank you. So now back to a more general question to Peter. What are the most common project management mistakes and how do I avoid them?
Thank you, Carly. Yeah. The most common mistakes I've realized or witnessed through my 20 plus years of project management is that there seems to be lack of documentation and lack of lessons learned for a proper closeout. Just simply put, there's really very little or no lessons learned documentation for a project manager to research before a project is actually implemented or executed. This is understanding that projects are unique by nature, and basically technologies changes so quickly, they wonder if lessons learned are even useful. But there's no paper or electronic record trails that substantiates decisions, because it goes with the saying, the more things change, the more things stay the same, and project management discipline is exactly about that. So if I were a project manager and I wanted to avoid mistakes, the first thing I would do is look at the previous project manager's mistakes or previous project's mistakes so that you can make better decisions for your own project. I feel like a fundamentalist for saying this, but it's really up to you to learn and apply the project management concepts in practice. The return on investment for taking the time to review lessons learned or taking the time to review the documents that provide information in better managing your project is priceless. You avoid, you manage risks, and you're actually rectifying for past mistakes if you're going to do a project differently. This is definitely a loaded question, but again, if you stick to the discipline in terms of the project management principles and what Margaret have referred to, the PMBOK, or the project management body of knowledge refers to, the better project manager you'll be.
Great, thanks. That was definitely helpful advice. Margaret, this one is back to the Applied Project Management Certificate. How is the certificate different than the Introduction to Project Management Principles and Practices specialization that I already completed on Coursera? And we received this in advance as well as live just now.
Okay, you're going to get a lot more depth in this program. So now, of course, full disclosure, and many of you know this, I helped present the Intro to Project Management specialization. So of course I think it's good. Why would I do it if I didn't? But the level of depth in this professional certificate, it's so much more. So if you took the Intro to Project Management specialization, you will hear information that you've heard before, but you're going to get so much more information on it. You're going to get so much more in terms of the exercises and applying it. You're going to have an opportunity for your instructors to interact with you and to give you feedback on your work. You walk away with many more hours of education, 120 as opposed to 35. You get transferable university credit. You get, tutorials and workshops and more supportive information. So, of course, I think that the intro specialization is good. I also think if you're ready for more, to learn more, then this is a good next step for you. And if this is something that, you're really seriously going to make a career out of, then moving forward and going into this more in-depth certificate program is only going to be helpful to you. Thanks.
Great, thank you. Peter, this one is back to the tactics of project management. How do you plan for executing delayed projects?
This is a good question as well, and just kind of give everyone on the webinar chat a perspective. Infrastructure projects face delayed permits or regulatory delays, or even if you're building your own home, you have to get permits from the city. And there may be nothing you can do to control how fast the government works or how fast cities work to provide you with your permits while everything else is on hold. For those people who have worked in operations or finance industries, there's always a list of CapEx projects or capital expenditure projects that are on hold because of funding needs. And now they're released. The most important thing that you can do is that you accept that the project is delayed, right? Don't deny it, don't drag it on, because your project is brand new now. Regardless of how delayed it was before, regardless of what happened before, you would hope that all the lessons learned are available to you. And you as a project manager, it's time to step up, right? You announce that it's a new project, despite being delayed in the past, you've taken on the helm at this moment and you accept that project wholeheartedly. In line with that, you have to set everyone's expectations that the actions will be focused and all the actions and activities are focused on the to-go, right? Again, this kind of reinforces that the new project has begun and everybody, I will hope, understands the importance of this communication. You will do some replanning. You have to recommunicate or replan to all the stakeholders the actions that you're going to take. Through these communications, you're looking for buy-ins for the new timelines and the new deliverables, if any, right? If you've inherited some basically some projects that have not been done, the deliverables may be the same. However, everybody understands that the timeline will be different. Earlier on, I saw on the Zoom webinar chat, somebody asked, what happens if some work is dumped on your desk and this is not was planned initially? This is a brand new project. I would, again, carpe diem, seize the day and take the opportunity to say, now I'm the project manager, it's in my hands. And basically it's a new project going forward. All the deliverables you will deliver according to what the requirements are, but setting expectations, communicating expectations, setting the new timeline and communicating the timeline tells everybody that now it's in your hands and it's not a catch-up effort. This is a brand new project and I'm going to execute this project according to the plan or the new plan that I set forth. Your stakeholders are going to be incredibly difficult to manage, or they'll be incredibly on your side, because the reason that the project is delayed but now it's going on again is probably means that this is a priority or requirement for your company or your set of portfolio projects. Again, don't focus on the blame or the delay perspective. Focus on that you are a new project manager executing a new project, and it's not a delayed project. It's a new project that's going to execute it the right way because it's in your hands.
Thanks, Peter. We are going to go back to one of the polls that we showed at the beginning that asked, how do you plan on using your project management skills in the future? And the majority of you selected manage current projects as opposed to improving current role as a project manager or switching to a new career. So thank you for your response. Now we're going to move to some of the live submitted questions, and we'll get to as many as we can and we're trying to group them based on topic. So one of them that we received, I'm going to give this to Margaret, is how can I be certified internationally?
Okay. Well, the Project Management Institute is actually an international organization, and they are in 250 countries around the globe, possibly more. No, I cannot list them all. So the Project Management Institute is everywhere, which means that you can apply for and take the Project Management Institute's Project Management Professional Exam and get your PMP in most areas of the world. The PMBOK is translated into many, many different languages. And to find out, if this is applicable to you in your country, I would say go to pmi.org. There is something though, the Project Management Institute is not everything. It's not the only thing. And the PMP exam is not the only certification. And I want to touch on the fact that there is an approach called Prince 2. And Prince 2 was something that was started by the government in the United Kingdom. And you can read a little bit about Prince 2, use your favorite search engine and find more information. It's not really, really completely foreign or dissimilar. Some things are said a little bit differently, but there are some similar approaches in terms of initiating projects and planning projects and closing projects, just like we talk about. And if you are a person and you are going to be working in the United Kingdom and with countries who are interacting with the United Kingdom and countries that recognize Prince 2, then that's certainly worthy of your attention. And so it seems like no matter where you are in the world, there's probably an approach for you.
Great, thanks, Margaret. There have been a lot of questions about this next one, Peter, that I'm going to turn over to you. And there are more specific ones, but as a general question, what types of project management roles are there?
There are literally hundreds of project management roles. In the industry that I work in for utilities, a typical project probably brings in about 10 to 20 different functions. The core team consists of the project manager. There's a project analyst. And depending upon whether you work for a projectized company that has its own PMO or really working for a functional company where projects are just a one-time endeavor, let's say perhaps to implement AConnects or implement some subsystems, the roles can be very, very different. But at the end of the day, whether a project manager or project coordinator that's central to that project, I mean, the sole purpose of the existence of the project, you are it, you are chartered. You typically have an analyst here at Southern California Edison. We have analysts for project and programs, also called APPs, and they have levels from 1 to 3. They also had project managers in terms of MPP1 or project manager. There's senior project managers, and there's even project advisors depending upon how big the projects are. Along with that, there are risk management professionals, quality management professionals like myself, along with change management that supports the project in terms of project controls. So that's just the core team to manage large projects or portfolio projects that provide support. Other project managers are subject matter experts. We utilize engineers from distribution, transmission, or even telecom, in IT. Those are all subject matter experts. They may not typically have the title of project manager or project analyst, but they are nonetheless project subject matter experts. So because a project is comprised of basically a unique endeavor, it's comprised of many individuals, and individual subject matter experts are brought in based upon the scope of the project, I can tell you that there's probably hundreds of roles that the project needs in terms of resources.
Great, thank you. Margaret, this one's back to you, and this one I wonder myself. What are the most challenging aspects about being a project manager, and how do you use your project management skills to overcome these challenges?
Oh my gosh, it's so easy. There's no challenges ever. Thank you. Sorry for this. There are challenges, and I'm going to say to everyone, and the challenges can be fun because they're all opportunities for growth. I think for a lot of us, some of the biggest challenges come from the fact that many projects are run under an organizational structure where the project manager has responsibility but doesn't have a lot of authority. What I mean is that I don't always get to be the boss. I don't get to be the boss. I don't get to say, hey, if you don't do this today, you're fired, which, by the way, is a horrible leadership approach anyway. But it means that we need to really draw on our influence and our negotiation and helping people to understand what needs to happen and when and why it is important. We need to draw on our relationship building because a lot of the people who are working with us to run projects work for someone else, and we want to have good, strong partnerships with those people who contribute human resources to our projects. And so I think that it just takes getting used to, and that's great. And so some of the first things you want to do is when you have a project assigned to you, you want to understand that project's relative priority to other projects and initiatives going on in your organization. Because if you are running the project that is the top priority for your organization, you should expect a certain level of response to your requests. If you're running a project that's in the middle, it's not that your project isn't important. It's that people are going to be paying more attention to the top initiatives. and yet you still need to work with people to get this middle, medium prioritized project accomplished. And so you need to draw on your planning and your relationship building and your coordinating to make that happen. That's just one answer. I mean, I think we could answer this question many ways, but that's something I'd like to bring to the table for the discussion. Thanks.
Great, thank you. Peter, back to you. Can you tell us what is the difference between project management and program management?
Yeah, sure, Carly. Basically, program can be compared to a portfolio of projects in its definition or in its similarity. For my role in terms of as being a project manager in the past, I manage individual projects. But in some cases, a lot of your projects are smaller in nature, in which you become a portfolio manager or a program manager. Program is a very general term that can be utilized to manage programs, initiatives, projects. And if you've taken a look at some of the project management introductions or what's on the internet, there's roles that are unique or specific to the titles. But in many cases, whether you're a project manager, program manager, or portfolio manager, you're still sticking to the discipline of project management. My current title is a QA/QC program manager. And as a program manager, I have programs to manage. And what are some of those programs? For instance, we're in the process of updating all of our policies and procedures. And why are policies and procedures important? Because QA/QC folks audit them and make sure that there's a standard practice that everybody can adhere to so that projects can be approached in a uniform way. So that's one of the programs, and all the actions or all the people that I work with in terms of stakeholders are focused on that initiative, and I pitch in and I connect. The other ones are just basic QA/QC services, whether you're providing audits or internal assessments, or whether you're out on the field examining inspections on hold points, witness points. Those are all QA/QC activities, so I manage that program as well. There's also continuous improvement that's embedded in almost every organization. Basically, policy and procedures, as well as audits and all the QA/QC activities, you want to get better and better and better. But typically, organizations will have identified their pain points, and basically those pain points become programs for continuous improvement. And my job is to oversee that those continuous improvements actually gets concluded and gets done using the right tools, such as Six Sigma tools for root cause analysis that are also project management tools. So basically, a program management is about, if you think about the strategy of achieving something for your organization, what projects or what portfolio projects or what initiatives are required to achieve that end desired goal is really your program. So in many instances, programs can be defined using other definitions or depending on the need of the organization. But I would say that is the major difference in terms of what it's described for project versus program management.
Great, thank you. This next one I'm going to give to Margaret because I have taken the intro specialization on Coursera, and I know it talks about matrix organizations. So this one is, in our company, we have the matrix organizational structure. Thus, a member of my project team can also be a subordinate of another manager. Sometimes due to such an organizational structure, the deadlines for tasks are not met. How do I prioritize my tasks for such a member?
Yes, it's the challenge that we live by, and around the world, we just love the matrix organization, and so we create problems for ourselves, and yet sometimes it can be very efficient. The best thing to do is to have good conversation with those who approved the project and with those who contribute resources to your project, and find out what is the priority of your project overall. And my wish for you is that you work someplace where there's clear project prioritization, but my understanding of the real world is that what I wish for and what really happens are not always the same things. So in the perfect world, you'd already know this. Somebody would say like your project is number 5 and that helps you, but you may not work someplace that has that. And so you want to find out what is the overall prioritization, and then an understanding. Then I encourage you to meet with the managers who are providing resources to you and other project managers, and have some resource planning conversations. And sometimes it doesn't happen because everyone's busy, and I understand that. But if you can sit down together and you can say, oh yeah, Peter's on my project. Oh yeah, Peter's on my project too. Oh yeah, Peter's on my project too. And we can look and see all the different places where we're using Peter, because we're driving him nuts, by the way. And then have that honest conversation about, well, this project is number 2, and this project is number 3, and this project is number 4. So therefore, when Peter is over allocated, which unfortunately we are likely to have done if we haven't worked well together with our planning, the first thing he needs to do is to complete his tasks for project number 2, then project number 3, then project number 4. And so in that way, when there's clear prioritization, and you may need to get that prioritization for each resource, and I understand that's work, but when you do that work, you will be so much happier because you will always know when is it going to be okay if something is going to be late on your project, and when is it not okay. And I understand that most of us never want anything on our projects to be late. But you also want to factor that with, is this work on the critical path, which some of you have already taken the courses, so you understand critical path means if this slips, the end date will slip. But some pieces of work have some float or slack, which means they can be delayed. So you want to gather that information with that understanding, and this will help with your planning so that you know if it slips, is it okay? And if something slipped because something else is an agreed upon higher priority, that's the trade-off. That's how it works. Thank you. And my sympathies, because this.
So the next question is for Peter, and it relates somewhat to what Margaret was just answering. I'm sure, Peter, you probably contemplate this in your current role. The question is, what are the best tools for transparent communication, for communicating status and timeline of projects to important stakeholders, particularly to give them ownership of knowing important milestones, instead of constantly asking the project manager?
Yeah, so this is a pretty basic question in terms of reporting. And there's a lot of parallels to people who work in finance as well, where transparency is really important and pivotal to understanding the, or having the information available to you so that you can actually do your job. Communication management is critical, and communication is critical because if right people don't have the information, people are not able to do their job, or you're not enabling them, or not delegating properly. In terms of the actual tools, we're talking about, let's say, schedule, for instance. There's basic tools such as Microsoft Project or Primavera or P6. SAP also has a project systems module that can actually handle schedules as well. But for those of you who haven't seen what a Primavera schedule or a Microsoft project schedule is, just imagine a spreadsheet in a Gantt chart. You have your activities in the work breakdown structure, and it tells you when you're going to get those jobs done. Today, I received an email with a 3-day look ahead for a construction schedule. It tells me exactly when the QA/QC inspections are going to be done. It gives me a work breakdown structure number that ties to the scope of what exactly is being inspected. These reports are published every month, and these schedules are also complementing the master integrated schedule for which the broader project is captured. So these are some of the tools that needs to be utilized to communicate schedules effectively. There's also cost reporting, and if you work in a functional organization, you receive reports day and night. If you work for a corporate, you have 10K, 10Q reports that are external reporting that needs to be handled in a timely manner as well. It provides financial information for how your project is having burn rates. What was the plan? What was spent? What is it to go? What is the potential variance? And what is the forecast? All those are important metrics for a project manager and the project team to drive their projects. They need to know when they're going over budget. They need to know when a resource costs a lot less than what they intended to in terms of materials or even service for individuals. So in terms of tools and techniques, I would recommend stick to your basics. What is your scope in terms of your project plan? What documents provide you with what exactly that you need to do? What are the procedures that's going to help you to get those scope executed in terms of activities? But along with that, sticking to the basics of schedule management and cost management, the whole point of report is that it's supposed to be shared. You do not generate a report for one person to read, because that would be total waste of time. transparency in terms of scope, cost, and schedule has to be clear to all stakeholders at all times. This is with in mind, there's some confidential information that needs to be kept confidential, whether it be licensing agreements or perhaps it's like related to trademarks or proprietary information. I totally understand. There's non-disclosure forms and there's other tools that can help limit the share of information for those information that is not to be shared with everybody. But in terms of project management, my goodness, anything related to scope, cost, and schedule, all stakeholders have to be on the same page for everybody to march together. And the typical analogy I utilize is, I don't know if everybody's seen the Olympics or rowing competitions. There's 5 people, there's 7 people, there's 10 people. Those oars or the rowing all has to be done in tandem. If somebody roars at a different speed or different cadence, it messes up the whole rhythm of that entire ship or that entire boat. And that's what exactly project management is. Those reports help everybody to roll together in terms of scope, cost, and schedule. I hope this makes sense.
Great, thank you, Peter. I want to personally thank our panel for spending the time with us today to help us understand more about project management. As a student in the Applied Project Management Certificate, you'll have the opportunity to continue to learn from these instructors. The Applied Project Management Professional Certificate is a great way to learn to advance your career. The certificate is comprised of 4 6-week courses that are completely online: project launch, project planning, project implementation, and project practicum. Unlike many other project management courses, there are weekly webinars and expert graded projects and exams, academic credit, and a certification from the University of California at Irvine. The next session starts on October 16th. You can enroll now in the certificate at coursera.org/professional-certificate/applied project management. We will be sending out the slides from this webinar. If you have any additional questions that were not addressed by the webinar, feel free to email pmcertificate@coursera.org. And again, thank you for joining us and have a wonderful day.